Hello, Jason King. Thank
Hey.
you so much for coming, man.
Well, thanks
This
for
is
having
incredible.
me. This is
Yeah,
great.
thank you. I was actually friends, as you know, I was friends with your brother before you, your brother Brian, and then through Brian, I met you,
Yeah.
and we've been friends now for a couple years now, like 2 years.
I don't remember how many times we come here for mics, but yeah, it might be 2 years. Yeah.
2 years now.
Yeah.
2 years. Jason is a comedian, as are most of the people who come on this show. That's most of my network of sorts. But I feel comedians are philosophers of sorts. So it's definitely it is a philosophy show. So this is Waiting for Death with Joe Camerota. Again, my guest today is Jason King. And let's dive right in. Okay, so question number one: do you believe in God?
That's a big one.
Yeah, and if
I didn't
yes,
realize that was the first one. That's wild.
yeah. What is that? If yes, if no, what is that?
Yeah. So I think at this point there's this conflict.
I'll definitely have you
I'm gonna
have
get
the
closer?
mic. Yeah, a little bit there. Go
Better?
ahead.
Better?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I think at this point there's a conflict,
There's a conflict. Okay.
for me.
In what way?
So part of me believes, I'll start with a part of me that doesn't believe. So part of me doesn't believe,
Part of you does not believe in God.
yes.
Okay.
Because, I think part of it is I don't know if I want to be, part of it is I could see the whole Big Bang thing, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I could see that making sense. And I think that's one part. I think the second part of it is probably the guilt part, you don't have the guilt if there's no God.
Okay.
You know?
So you don't think God caused the Big Bang though? You don't think?
I think that's also possible.
Fair enough.
Right.
Fair enough,
I mean, there's
because when people say the Big Bang, I believe in God, but I also believe in the Big Bang and all that. I mean, I just think that's what we call whatever it is we think happened. Yeah.
that is fair. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. But you just are I don't want to believe in God.
I think there's a part of me that sees Big Bang. You know what? I mean, it probably has to do a lot with how I grew up,
Okay.
religiously, right? I grew up religiously. I was a Christian, and
Okay.
there's a lot of believing in God means not believing in Big Bang and not believing in aliens, and so when I see those things, those are kind of things that make me go yeah, it makes it harder to believe. And
So
yeah.
you associate a lot of things that you do want to believe in with things that you can't believe in if you believe in God.
Oh, repeat that again.
Like UFOs and stuff.
Yeah.
So you're hey, I think UFOs might be real, and that goes against
Yeah.
my idea of a God.
Yeah. But then
Yeah.
again, maybe that's part of the rhetoric that's been used to support God. It's no, there's not that, because that would be not God. And so
Yeah.
the idea of there being nuance between those things has not really been the thing that I guess I've explored too much, which is actually kind of interesting.
Okay, so you heavily associate God with Christianity? Is that the
Yeah.
religion you grew up in? Okay,
Yeah.
you heavily associate
Yeah.
God with Christianity. So the
Yeah.
idea that there's this other God who kind of doesn't really know Christianity at all, and that God invented the aliens and all that.
Yeah.
You don't subscribe. You don't necessarily.
Well,
possibly-
now that you're saying the Big Bang and I think evolution, I definitely believe in for a while.
yeah, I don't know what it is. It could be aliens that made us, and I guess that's technically God of sorts.
That is, yeah. I guess it would be a God if it was however you define God, I guess.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if we, create a online world and then those people become sentient beings, I guess we're God.
I guess we are.
Yeah.
So I'll say I think there's one aspect of saying no because of these things that I've associated with the rhetoric that's anti-God, right?
Got it.
I think there's another aspect of not wanting there to be God
Got it.
for the purpose of not feeling guilty. right? And then I think there's also sorry, go ahead.
No. So you don't like the God that you were offered, and so now you're like, okay, I don't like that God, so no to that God, and so now you're like, I guess no God, because I kind of. I mean, I'm not. That's not even unvalid. That's him. It's
Well,
like
I wouldn't. So there's still the part that I believe in. So like,
okay,
I'm clearly believing in like the idea of a God that I've been given.
okay, yeah,
Right. So I'll say like there's like that like fact part, the want part, and then there's also like I don't want to be like a sucker. You know what I mean?
got it, yeah.
I wonder if like I don't want to like be sold this thing and like adhere to this thing, and then like and then like be bamboozled. You know, like it, regardless of what that means from a behavioral standpoint. Like there's just something like in me about like just not wanting to be. Like a sucker.
And maybe God is just such an abstract idea that anyone who comes to us with a concrete idea of God to some degree is a con man, because it's just such a vague thing that at the end of the day you just go, whatever, man. Like we all die still. So
that's fair.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a very astute observation, that no matter what, someone who's speaking of God, because they ultimately don't know, there's sort of a con man aspect.
I mean, it's like a money making machine.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the proliferation of a lot of, I don't want to say a particular religion, but like the proliferation, I feel like, of a lot of churches have to do with money. Like the Catholic Church had a lot of money at one point in time.
No, you're 100% right. 100%.
Right? Like imagine being like
they still do. They still
right.
Christianity, religions in general don't pay taxes, and they spend as little as possible. It's just a recipe for insane amounts of wealth. Yeah. I remember once in college, I went to a Catholic college, and I remember once making food for the homeless in Pittsburgh, because it was like my turn. Everyone picked a day to make the food, and it was a very common thing. People went I think it was every Thursday. They went to go feed the homeless in Pittsburgh. And my day came up, and I got the call, "Hey Joe, you're supposed to bring the food." And I went, and I spent like $200, whatever it was. All this food and stuff. It was my one day. Mm-hmm. But I remember thinking afterwards, like, I think the Catholic, I get how I had to cook it, but I think the Catholic Church probably had $200. I think that they could have been like, "Hey, here's the $200 to feed the home," but they weren't going to do that. Right. So that's how little they're spending. They're spending that little that an impoverished college student, they're like, no, you spend your money. We have tons of gold, but you spend your $200, because that's how greedy we are. That's insane, really. Totally is. Right?
That's pretty insane,
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, second half. I didn't explain the second half. I didn't explain the part that I believe. Okay. So there are certain parts, and this is just for Christianity, there's certain parts of the Bible that are so, because the Bible has like a lot of prophecies in it.
Yeah.
Right? But there are certain things that are mentioned that are like so weird that I'm like, this has to be right. Like there's like, I'll use one, and then the second one I think is way better. Yeah. But there's one where the Bible talks about the circle of the earth at a time when everyone thought the earth was flat. This was in the Bible, like hundreds of years ago. But it's possible that someone just saw the reflection on the moon. They were like, Earth's a circle. Okay? Yeah. That's one. I'll give you that one. Here's one. There's a prophecy in the Bible that says that Babylon will never become a nation again, which is insane. It's insane. Because you think about every other empire that has ever existed, right? Egypt, Assyria, Macedonia, Greece.
They all come back.
Like people just settle in those places because the empires only existed because like the land is so fertile, right? Then you look at Babylon; it's on 5 rivers, right? You're like, why? Why has no one ever settled on this land?
Oh, really? It's still unsettled.
It's still. Saddam Hussein tried to rebuild Babylon,
and could.
And then the U.S. came after Saddam Hussein.
Really?
So
Because is it in Iraq? Is Babylon in Iraq?
So, yeah, it's in Iraq.
It's in Iraq.
Yeah.
I did not know this.
Yeah. Never built again.
Really?
Yeah.
That is fascinating.
It is super fascinating. So I have this idea of a documentary that I'd love to do,
Okay.
which is called, like, the idea is called the Proving God Project,
Okay.
where I try to go to Babylon and rebuild it
Oh,
and
okay.
see what happens.
Okay. Yeah.
And if it fails, and we spend millions of dollars and it fails, that's it.
Yeah.
You got me.
Okay. I mean, you'd have to work with, if it's in Iraq, you would have to work with the Iraq government, the UN, all that and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's doable. If somebody, honestly, if somebody champions anything and they really want to develop stuff, there's tons of investors that are like, hey, this person's championing this. They're willing to take on the responsibility of allocating all this money. I mean, really, if people are willing to take on insane amounts of responsibility, you do get stuff done.
Yeah.
So yeah, go on that adventure,
Yeah.
man. You gotta move to the Middle East and all that, which is fun. Yeah. It's a great place. So I definitely thought about converting to Islam just to go to Mecca, just to go to Mecca, just to be a part of it. Literally. Maybe I'll become a true believer. Maybe
You're like,
not.
this changed Malcolm X's speeches a lot.
Well, just be a part of it. Just because I, it's like the other major religion that you can just kind of join.
Yeah.
Besides Christianity and stuff. And
Are there religions that you can't just kind of join?
You can join Judaism, but you really have to study for a long, long, long time. You can't join Judaism and then like learn like you can with Christianity and Islam, where you can just say I am this, and then they go, yep, you are, and then they teach it to you afterwards. Yeah. With Judaism, you have to study a lot, and then.
Well, there's some religions where you have to study, like when I was.
Maybe.
I had to study a lot.
I know, like Christianity will just baptize anybody.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to reveal things on camera. I just don't want people to know too much. But like when I was growing up, like they didn't baptize people at birth. You had to like study.
Oh wow.
There's like a book. You got a test.
Really?
And you like.
What branch of Christianity is this?
I don't know if I want to say it on camera.
Jehovah's Witness or was it? Oh, yeah. That's cool.
Well, now it's okay. Yeah, but that's how I grew up in it. You know, it's. I mean, they really know their stuff really well. I mean, because you could imagine like how much knowledge you need to know to go preach to someone.
Yeah, totally. And to feel confident.
Yeah.
And to just be like, nope, I got an answer for you on everything that you can throw at me. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, I almost attribute a lot of my stand-up stage presence to that.
That's interesting. I bet. Yeah.
Like, could you imagine like being 6 years old and going up to someone who's 50 and being like, I have the answers to all your problems.
You would go door to door.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I believe that. That definitely makes you a main character. That sort of interjecting yourself into reality to that degree definitely makes you a main character for sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's 100%.
Yeah.
100% takes you out of that. NPC, is that what they're called? The background characters in video games. They call them NPCs, right?
Avatar? Not avatars. No, you make an avatar.
I guess the non-main characters, whatever. I don't know why they call them NPCs. I think they're called NPCs, right? On TikTok and stuff. You know what I mean? They always talk about how just the people in the background of like Grand Theft Auto, whoever. You know what I mean? How you kind of feel like society is like that. You ever seen those TikToks where they're like, "Hey, you ever seen your neighbors bring in their groceries?" They're like, how you sure they're?
Have you seen the ones with the cats interacting with augmented reality?
No, I haven't seen that.
So they'll like project out stuff, right? But it's like only in the glasses.
Yeah.
And then the cat will like start playing with the little man. You're like, what? Why? Why is this happening? You know?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's pretty freaky.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So next question.
Oh, good. Okay.
Do you believe in Satan? Do you believe in the devil? And if yes, what is that? If no,
I feel like that is dependent
okay,
on the first one, right?
okay,
Like, I think if I don't believe, then I don't believe in anything, and if I believe, then I believe in Satan.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
Fair enough.
But it
Fair enough.
depends. And the thing is, I could see it because there's like at least when I was like young, there was an understanding. Did you grow up Christian at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's, and I'm like, I'm going so deep into this because I've like read the Bible so many times, but
Yeah.
there's a verse in Luke, right? It's like Luke chapter 4,
Yeah.
right? Where the devil comes up to Jesus.
Okay.
He starts asking him to do a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Remember, like one of them
Yeah.
is like throw
I know what
yourself
you're
off a
talking about.
cliff, and
Yeah.
but one of them, he offers him the world.
Yeah.
He says,
I know
if
what
you
you're
just
talking
do
about,
an
yeah.
act of service, everything that's under my dominion, I give to you.
Yeah.
Right? And I think oftentimes people who are religious kind of have this like view of like, God, why'd you take my son from me? Or,
Right.
it's all in God's plan. But the way that I was taught, it was like all the bad stuff is not in God's plan because like this is not, we're living in like the dominion of like Satan's dominion.
Okay. Got it.
So
Got
it's
it. So the
like
bad stuff is directly from
yeah,
Satan's intervention.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So there's a part of you
Yeah.
that believes that. Yeah.
And there's a part because I don't know, this is getting a little,
Yeah. Go ahead.
revealing a lot.
Right.
But there's a part of me that like looks at the world and then sees things like the idea of the Illuminati and goes
Yeah.
like, who's at the head of that table? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
like if there was one person pulling the strings, if there could be one person pulling the strings, could it be like a devil
Yeah.
at the top of all that? When you kind of think about
Yeah.
how much is connected across so many countries, across so many rich people, it's like maybe there is one evil entity.
Yeah, there might be a malevolent, because greed does seem to run the game. So there might be a kind of sort of,
Yeah.
it does feel like there's a malevolent energy at the very top of it all,
Yeah.
right? That kind of keeps people from almost in check, oddly
Right.
enough, right?
It's almost
keeps
like
people from
yeah.
speaking up. It really does, man. Money does crazy shit like
Yeah.
that, dude. People will go their whole lives without ever standing up for justice because of money.
Yeah.
Whole lives.
Yeah.
Wild. Yeah. Well, okay, fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
think in terms of money, there's like one verse in the Bible that's like money is the root of all sorts of, I don't know, is it
Yeah,
all
money's
sorts
the
of
root.
injurious things? Or I might be mixing things up.
Yeah.
But one thing I always think about is like if there was like a heaven or like a paradise, I think like a lot of Jewish people believe in paradise earth.
Yeah.
Jehovah's Witnesses also believe in paradise earth.
Paradise
So-
Earth.
Yeah. So whether
Okay.
it's like a heaven or a paradise earth, I always wondered how you'd get it done without money because money is such a valuable thing because it allowed you to like take a, like not say that, hey, I need a little bit of salt.
Yeah.
I don't want to trade my entire cow for all this salt.
It allows
Right.
cooperation.
Right. Well, it
Yeah.
allows you to like barter more efficiently
Yeah.
because I could sell the cow and buy a little bit of salt. I don't have to sell the cow and then buy all like an entire room of salt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that like money is so important. So I think about like how that would work. How would you have that without money? But then one thing I read about at one point, it was like no man will toil for another man. Right?
Yeah.
In this is how like because there are verses where like they'll describe like what the heavenly world is supposed to be like. So no man toils for another man. I was like, maybe that's the only way that capitalism works, right? Or some sort of system works where if you want something, you build it yourself.
Yeah.
You build your own house, you build your own tech, whatever you want to
Yeah.
build, you build it yourself so that no one else can take advantage of the work of others. And in that way, you still don't need money.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that is kind of ideal, and maybe technology will afford that to some degree in the sense. I mean, you still got to do a trade and then kind of stick to that trade and then depend on the trades of others. I mean, no man is an island at the end of the
But
day.
you could be in a world where there was infinite time. I can
That's
learn
true.
all the trades.
That's fair.
Infinite time, perfect mind,
Yeah.
all the trades.
I mean, there definitely, probably in the past, have been farmers that have been, because they have animals that they can do vet work on. You know, they
Yeah.
essentially become doctors on top of being farmers. That is true, right? Probably, yeah. Dude, wow, what a life, man. If you have a family and since you have animals, you're like, yeah, I'm a vet, so I guess I'm a doctor. So I guess I'm not only the patriarch or the matriarch of this family, but I'm also the family doctor. Like if someone needs open heart surgery, I will do open heart surgery on them the way I did it on that cow. That's wild, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So true. Jesus. All right, let's see.
That was good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I revealed a lot. I think I revealed a lot.
Oh yeah, that was a great. I think these questions are very. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
revealing that way. Okay, next question. What happens after you die?
These are similar questions.
Yeah,
So I think it's still based on the first question.
Okay. Yeah.
Immediately after, I'm going to tell people to turn me into a tree. Because that's
Right.
what I'd like.
Okay.
I wouldn't like a coffin. I wouldn't like cremation. Make me a tree. Like, I
Okay.
want to be... I was about to say I want to be played with. I was like, that's not the right wording.
So you
But-
want to be cremated?
No,
Probably.
there's like a company that turns people into trees.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a nice like purple rainbow eucalyptus.
Once, my ex-girlfriend, she bought me a plant, and it died. So I would hate to be turned into a tree and then die.
And
Well, I
you
guess in the end, what does it matter anyway?
turn to
Yeah.
another tree.
It's true. It's true. That's true. Fair enough. Cool. All right. Cool. Let's see. Next question. Have you ever experienced the miraculous or the supernatural?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe, but there's like pieces of me that like want to say
No.
no.
Okay. Fair
You know,
enough.
like because I don't know. I remember like growing up, people would be like, "You just gotta look for God." I was like, if I look for God, I'm gonna find God. You know.
Yeah.
You know, like if I say like, you know, if I see something, I don't know. Every once in a while, I have these moments where I'm like, I feel bad about praying or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll be on my phone, and it will be 3 videos that will like say. So I don't know if you know how Jehovah's Witnesses work, but there's like a verse in the Bible
Okay.
where they say God's name. They only use God's name 2 times in the Bible.
Okay.
God's name is Jehovah in the Bible.
Yep.
And they do it in Indiana Jones too.
Okay.
In number 3, where he's like, "What's God's name?" Jehovah, and then he like tries to spell it with a J, and he's like, "Well, Latin alphabet uses I's, not J's," and he has to spell it with an I. But there'll be days where I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if I feel like it's fair for me to pray," and then I'll get like 3 videos, random place, TikTok, Instagram. People will just be like singing like God's name.
Okay.
It's just weird.
Got it.
And I'm like,
got
oh, maybe it's that coincidence.
it. Okay.
But also, like, if I wanted to believe that I experienced something special or
Yeah.
miraculous, it's just like, okay, like
Yeah.
in the day that I'm thinking about this, like maybe that's it. But there's also like the thing about like how your brain like creates filters whenever
Yeah.
you're thinking about something. So it could be that too.
Your brain might be looking for it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely experienced serendipitous a lot in that way. Like you're talking about, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, definitely for me, that does lend to a belief in God when those things happen in my own life. And they happen quite often. It's interesting how you mentioned Babylon before. I try to listen to one audiobook a week. And the book I listened to this week is a very famous book called The Richest Man in Babylon. I just finished it today.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny how...
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? I literally just finished it today. And I've never read a book with title Babylon in it before, and you told that whole thing. And so as you're telling it, I'm like, This is weird. So yeah, it's so funny how you mentioned that because it's like that. Isn't that wild? Yeah,
It's crazy.
Literally, I just finished a book today
Yeah.
with
You
this,
finished it today.
finished it today.
That's
with
crazy.
The City of Babylon, and the title was about the city of Babylon.
What's his name? Nebuchadnezzar?
I forget I forget the name of whoever wrote it. It's one of those like kind of self-help books of sorts, but it's called The Richest Man in Babylon. And it's a self-help book.
Gotcha.
One of those like Think and Grow Rich type books, you know what I mean, or How to Win Friends and Influence People and all that and stuff, right? It's one of the famous ones. And I've been meaning to listen to it for a long time.
Okay.
And it was so funny. I downloaded it recently and was sitting in my library, and today I was like, you know what? Today's the day. I'll listen to it. And then you came here and started telling that story.
You got me into the Malcolm Gladwell books.
Oh, no way.
That was you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
I've enjoyed them so much. I will debate him on a couple of points. Like with the 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
The one thing I will debate him on is I feel like he doesn't attribute enough value to tangential skills.
Okay.
Right?
Like just kind of side skills like that you have, kind of jack of all trades type of skills. What do you mean by tangential?
Like skills that don't necessarily seem that they can be. It's not, the word is not transitioned, but like used for like that art form that aren't necessarily obvious. Like for example, with stand up, I haven't done stand up. I've done stand up like 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Right. But I went door to door for like more than 10 years.
But I think that's what he means by the 10,000 hours is you do collect it in that abstract way. Just that all does count towards the
I felt like the chapter on like the violinists and the sports players, like it felt like they were doing very direct things.
Well,
for
I
their
think
10,000 hours.
it's like the Beatles, how the Beatles played in that German restaurant. You know what I mean? And they weren't playing rock music. They were just playing probably just whatever local music. But it was just this idea of playing together, basically. Yeah.
That's fair.
It's like I think there's these old videos to talk about religious stuff. There's these old videos of Theo Von. He was part of this religious like group, and they would travel the country doing like speeches and stuff. And so a lot of, in fact, actually, because performing as a child usually has to do with your church or your local like CYO. CYO is a church thing. Like just local state stuff, basically, as you can imagine. You know what I mean? So definitely, I feel that is very common actually, where people get involved in either church plays or just local school plays or whatnot. They become a darling in that regard. So the fact that you went door to door makes sense. Yeah. As to being this catalyst where years later in life, you would think to yourself, hey, what am I fearless at? Mm-hmm. What did I learn as a child that I'm now fearless at? Yeah.
The other interesting thing is like, like you'll have like pastors and things like that within a church, right? Like a typical church, you have a pastor or something. It's like usually the same people who speak, but Jehovah's Witnesses are so about making sure that people are trained to be able to teach others. Yeah. That the people who speak keep rotating.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it could be...
That's interesting.
Like when I was 6, I'd go on stage.
So no one has like the power at all, really, in that regard. Everyone's kind of divinely inspired in that way.
Well, there's probably like certain things. Like for example, let's say we did like an hour speech. I wouldn't let anybody do it. But like when I was 6, I'd get on stage and I'd like open a Bible and I'd like read it for 5 minutes in front of like 300 people.
Yeah.
And
having that experience at such a young age. Kind of like trains you to not be afraid of that when you're older.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It trains you, but the other thing I was going to say is that it makes you crave it.
Yeah,
because that feels good.
Yeah, it's like very like a home cooked meal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like comfort food in that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm reading like I don't know that part. I'm reading like the book of Daniel, and I read like Shadrach, Meshach, and these names, and I'm like nailing these names. I'm like, and I'm like, it's like the same feeling. It's like getting through a joke, and I'm like, oh, I nailed that word.
So interesting that you know that, because there was one time when I was a kid, I went to Catholic school, and I had to read in front of the entire school, and there was the passage for that week had a lot of really difficult names in it.
Yeah.
And the teacher specifically switched it out with a different
Yeah.
reading because it was just a lot of names that I had trouble pronouncing. But anyone would have. Anyway, I remember I started reading this new reading in front of everyone at Mass, and the priest literally got off the altar, went over to the book, and says, "You're not reading the right reading. Move the book to the right reading," because the teacher had told him that she switched it because of all the difficult names. Moved it over to that original reading, and then just in gangster in a moment, I just had to man up and just do the original reading with all the difficult names, and I just plowed through it. And but
How did it feel afterwards, though?
it felt great, and I remember the teacher celebrated that I rose to the occasion. And I will say, little moments like that, it's kind of funny that you brought that up, and that kind of unlocked that core memory, I guess. And I guess it's not a core memory. It was kind of something that, I guess I'd forgotten a little bit. But yeah, it's interesting how you just brought that up, and it just kind of unlocked that. That's very true, yeah.
It's nice to get back memories that you didn't have.
That is kind of interesting,
Yeah.
right? And that's, what I love about doing this type of show? It is a ritual type of show like that, which does, because I'm doing the same 7 questions over and over again. So
That's
it's
awesome.
100%, it's a ritual. So it does bring things out every single time because it is a ritual. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah.
I don't remember what the memory was, but I went to my high school reunion last week, and someone shared something with me. It's like, remember when we did that? And like a tear came to my eye. I was like, oh my God, I do.
I guess all floods
Yeah.
back every once in a while. Yeah. Same. I just have these people bring up some party, and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It's so weird how, your brain can just forget whole nights until someone mentions it, and you're like, oh yeah. Do you believe in love?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm believing. Well, sure I do. I mean, do I believe in the magic behind it?
Okay.
Maybe not, but I mean, I think there's love, whether that is magic or whether it's chemicals, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. It could be just something that we've like learned over time to have, because it's like the safest thing it's the safest way to allow the next generation to grow up healthy.
Okay.
So maybe it's just something that we built for our partners so that we can have healthy kids, and something we built with people around us so that we can have healthy communities. And so maybe it's just chemicals.
Yeah.
But I definitely believe in it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I believe in love too. Yeah, I love stand-up, so I have to believe in love that way. Yeah, it's definitely a very abstract word, though, so that's why I ask it. Yeah. Is there anyone you hate?
No.
You don't hate anyone?
No.
Oh, fair enough.
I don't like the energy.
Okay.
I don't like having that energy.
I love this question because it's different with every person.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of people that hate, so.
Yeah.
It can be very
No.
different.
And I don't invalidate this at all, because I always ask question because not like, do you believe in hate? Like, that's, but like, are there people you hate? Are there specific people? But no, you don't.
There are people who do things that I don't like and act in ways I don't like, but to actively hate is so much energy.
Okay, fair enough.
And
That's valid.
I don't want to hold it. Like there's one
There
girl.
are people that I hate so much that I don't know if I would go out of my way to hurt them, but if the opportunity came up where I could just neglect something and they would suffer, I'd be like, oh yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if I were to see them about to walk off a cliff, I'd be like, I'm not going to say anything. Going to watch that for sure.
Damn, what happened?
I don't know.
I
I guess I have that capability, I guess. But you're right. Some people, it's a matter of they're like, that energy is pointless to me.
Yeah.
So and it's interesting because whenever people explain it to me, I'm like, that's valid, but I just can't get there myself. Yeah.
I don't want it. I don't want that energy in my life, man.
Fair enough, man. Good for you.
I don't want it.
Good for you. All right.
There was one girl at my high school reunion that I wanted to see, because I remember at one point in history class, it was AP US.
Okay.
I don't know how we got there, but at some point she points me out. She's like, he doesn't even know he's black. right? I'm the one black boy in the whole grade. There are like maybe 5 black women.
Jesus.
And that hurt me so much to my core.
Yeah, that's like just so like isolating.
It
and
was
awkward.
just, well, the thing is, like, as like a blurred, right? It's like we for a long time it felt like I occupied this weird space where like black people don't accept me and white people don't understand me. Right?
Okay.
And I don't know. I was super isolating because I was in many ways like acting not typically black and trying to reject like the blackness because like it wasn't hot to be black. There was no what was his name? Who was the guy from Wakanda?
Well,
that guy wasn't around yet to make black people like in, you know what I mean? And I was rejecting so much of it.
I will give an example. So like when I grew up, I went to a Catholic school and there was only 30 kids in the class, right? Yeah. And two of the students in the class were black, Cecil and Racine.
Yeah.
And they were always there, Cecil and Racine, every kindergarten, 8th grade. And so because it's so interesting that you bring this up because just literally kindergarten, 8th grade, Cecil and Racine were there. And there was only 30 kids, we were all kind of carbon copies of one another because it was such a micro, as far as like personalities go. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't like if you would say like someone is like hood, like that didn't exist for anybody in Enfield, Connecticut. You know what I mean? Especially when there's only 30 kids in the class. We're all just carbon copies of this Catholic school, you know what I mean? We're all wearing uniforms every day. So yeah, there is an effect to that. I mean, when you're in such a microcosm, you just are, you know, like society hasn't kind of molded you to any sort of pop culture standards, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair.
But that's fine though. I mean, that's like, you know, that's I think that's normal.
I think it was a little normal. I think it was also. My school was somewhat. There were white people, there were Asian people, there were brown people. Yeah. I was one black person. I mean, I didn't have to be so white.
God,
there were other black women. You know, I was one black boy.
One black dude. Yeah.
But I don't know. It took me a while. It took me a while to accept some of that blackness. But that's
interesting.
You know, I think for a long point I was an Oreo cookie, and now I'm like a chocolate chip cookie.
I mean, but I think like to a certain degree that is common, and to a certain degree though it does create living in these fish out of water experiences. I mean, both Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock both had fish out of water experiences as children. Going to predominantly white schools in that way. So yeah, so you know, it's just, you know, it's definitely thank God. You know, I think any experiences like that could also be traumatic if it's a bad environment, you know what I mean? So thank God, you know, it seems like you were in an environment that was good enough, you know what I mean? You know, that now you're a functioning comedian and all that stuff, right?
I got rejected by enough doors at the time that by the time I got to high school, like it was easy. You know?
Okay. You know by enough doors? That
like knocking on enough doors.
Oh, yeah,
you know
the Jehovah's Witness thing.
Yeah, I had experienced rejection so much.
Did you go to Jehovah's Witness school or did you go to a
they don't have schools.
Oh, they don't have schools.
They have no schools. I went to a Jewish private school.
Oh, that's cool.
And then I applied to high school in New York City. Because you apply to high school in New York City. I don't know if you knew this.
Oh, got it. I did kind of low-key know this. And they kind of have different, like, themed schools, right? In that way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can ruin your entire life at age 12 in New York.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a college application process at such a young age.
There are applications, there are tests.
And that goes in so much where, like, man, opportunity, if you have like a stay-at-home parent, you're going to go so much farther because what 12-year-old is filling out paperwork? You know what I mean? Honestly, right? You know, like that's just the reality of it all. So if you have a stay-at-home parent, you're gonna excel. Yeah, and that's real. Yeah. Wow. That is kind of weird. They put that on 12-year-olds. At 12 years old, why are you like, hey, I really need to sit down? Some probably 12-year-olds do realize like, hey, this is my ticket.
The one thing I realized is like the other day I was like, I can't believe I was that good at school with the motivation they gave us. Like I was thinking about, I was like the only motivation is this is going to be on the test.
Yeah.
I don't want to do bad on the test.
Got
Why?
it. Yeah.
Like associating the grade with like the long-term ramifications of it, I'm not thinking about that at age 12. I'm only thinking about not doing bad on a test.
Yeah.
You know?
That is true.
That's so crazy.
That is true. Yeah, a lot of it then does speak to students who have parents that are disciplining them. You know what I mean? Because you're afraid of your parents.
Yeah.
So then you're like, oh, I can't fail this.
Yeah.
I got to at least get
Yeah.
a B. Otherwise, like shit's gonna be bad
Yeah.
for me. Yeah. Wild. Yeah. Yeah. Fear is the only motivator to some degree at that age for stuff like schoolwork.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. What would be enough for you? What is enough for you?
What is enough?
Yeah, what's enough? What would be enough? What would you go, hey, man,
Talking
that's
about
enough.
like money? We're talking about like success? We're talking about...
I guess these questions are vague on purpose. And that's an interesting thing. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Because I will tell you this. Everyone answers this question differently. And that's the other interesting part. Some people, when I say it, they do think of money and success. Some people, they think of other stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no wrong answer.
There's so many things, right? There's money, there's success, there's...
I guess just,
love.
where would you feel where you're like, nah, man, this is enough. This is just enough. I'm good. Or is there never enough?
It's interesting because there's some places in our life where we have to like draw the line.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like with money and success, you just, nothing's enough.
Yeah.
But like with like finding a partner, you're like,
This has to be
there's like
enough.
a time. As well, I guess it depends on what you want, right? Like for me, like I want a family. So like there's like a point where I'm like, I have to be like, this is enough.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be affected by the other stuff, you know?
I don't know. I mean, some other people. But once again, there's no
Yeah,
wrong answers.
yeah,
There's no
agree,
wrong
yeah.
answers. Some people might say like, no, you got to constantly improve. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I
Like a
don't.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
I don't know. You know what I mean? I personally want to get into a good place of good habits, good rituals, and
Yeah.
have that be enough personally. You know what I mean? But once again, what would it be for you?
Man, I don't know. I really don't know. This is a tough question. I don't know. It's almost hard to envision it, you know?
Yeah, and so that might be the answer. That's a fair enough answer, though.
You think it's fair enough?
A fair enough answer might be, I don't know, man. I really don't know. And you might say, hey, man, I can't fathom that. That's fair. That's 100%
Well,
fair.
I do know there's some things I want.
Okay.
I don't know how far away the line is after those things,
Got it.
you know?
Fair enough. Yeah.
So
Will that satisfy you? Will those things that you think might be enough,
Right.
will they actually be enough?
Yeah.
Once you get there.
once I get there. So I don't know if you know, I make a lot of music. So I've been
Okay.
producing music for 9 years. And it would
I know your
be-
brother does too.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes. So it would be wonderful to have a Grammy speech. That would be a great feeling.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one. It would be good to just like make people rage at a festival.
Okay. Cool.
That would be something I want.
nice.
It would be good to have. I would love to have. And maybe I was gonna say maybe this is a big goal. It's not a big goal. I want it. I would love to be in the same position that Dave is in that Bill Burr. I think Dave specifically, when SNL calls him to do the jokes when the world's in turmoil.
Yeah.
You know?
To be the guiding light.
To be that,
Yeah.
you
To
know?
be our prophet.
Some
Yeah.
people have Dave Chappelle
is-
has
that
it.
is-
Trevor
that is-
Noah has it.
Yeah. Dave Chappelle in particular.
Yeah.
He's a living prophet.
Yeah.
He is.
People, they just call him. They're like,
when they write the
country-
history books, they'll be like, "Nah, man, everyone waited for Dave to weigh in on everything." Yeah. Whenever we got stuck, whenever we got too stuck as a country.
I would love
That is
that.
very
I don't know where
interesting.
the line is behind that. After that,
Yeah.
but those things, I would 100%. I'd love that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Those are good answers.
Yeah.
Those are all good answers. Those are
Yeah.
all great ideals.
Mhm.
Great aspirations. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Jason King. I absolutely love this.
Yeah.
We did it. We did the ritual.
Hell yeah.
Waiting for Death with Joe Camerota. My guest today was Jason King, the man, the myth, the legend. And you head back to California tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow,
Hell
10
yeah.
a.m.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I don't like flying at night. It's scary.
Okay.
I like to be able to see the wings.
Okay.
You know.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Don't want to see the plane dropping. If it's shaking, I'm like, is it stable? Good. When it's dark and it's shaking, I'm done.
Oh, I fly at night, and or no, you know when I fly? Early in the morning, 6 a.m. flight.
See?
Yeah, that's what
There
I
you
always
go.
do. Yeah, cool. All right, love you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much.
you.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Goodbye, everyone.